arms, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to another Supercoach Hub round wraps, round 7, and I'm here with Joey. How are you going, Joey?
I am good, mate. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Joey joins us from Ruck Infringement Punk podcast this week, so thank you for jumping on. Yeah, how's your week, mate? Did you fare all right through some of this injury carnage? Did you manage to land a decent captain?
Yeah, mate, I did okay. I captained Tohu Harris, brought him in this week with Mitch Barnett. I captained Tohu and he got me 124 as captain. It's not too bad. 62 there base.
Yeah, okay. Not too bad. Unfortunately, I went the Ponga route. I thought Needled Up Ponga looked fantastic and uninhibited, and then he got 13 points, so 120 behind Hines, which is not a fantastic effort, but some of my others pulled through and pulled me over the 1,000 mark. I can't remember what I finished, about 1,039 or something, so not too bad. Hopefully not many red arrows from that.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get into some of the injuries and the news from this week. We probably heard a little bit about the Ethan Strange extended contract and JFH to the Warriors, which is huge for them. It keeps their premiership window open, I reckon, with AFB moving to the Sharks next year. We also had Carl Lawton going to the Cowboys from next year and 2026 onwards. But yeah, the main injuries I think this week, there weren't as many as the last 2 weeks, thank goodness, because it's been carnage out there. We had Arzi Fowler's HIA, Junior Tupu has a suspected broken foot. Dylan Edwards picked up a little bit of a niggle, was expected to be right, I think. Totola, after all the scans have come back, has been confirmed to be out for 12 weeks, so he's gone, and there'll be some minutes in that Rabbitohs pack going around. Gagai didn't play this week, as well as Phil Sammy also pulled out late, but they both look to be good moving into next week or shortly. The other big injury from this week is Jamal Fogarty doing his bicep in the Raiders game, which will be very, very relevant for them and big blow to their team because they're doing a lot better than a lot of people expected this year. And so it'll remain to be seen how Ethan Strange and Weeks and guys like that keep steering the ship. Later on today, we had Tom Jenkins with a bit of a knee injury. Patolo went off in about 90 seconds into the Dogs game with an MCL. And then Ponga came back out from halftime and didn't look good. And then apparently he hurt his foot as well with a bit of a tendon injury, as well as that hip pointer not giving him any fun. Yeah. So did you survive through much of that carnage, Joey? Did you pick up anybody? I know I had Ponga captain, which did not go down well, but overall wasn't too bad a week for me.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. In Supercoach, I actually didn't have Ponga because I was running with Pappenhausen and Tedesco. So both didn't get me great scores, but I avoided that injury carnage. I did have Fogarty, though, who did make me a nice 15. So that was a bit light on. But, you know, I've got Cleary sitting there on the bench waiting to come back. The rest of the injury news, I did have Totola, which hurt a lot. That hurt a lot. I've been holding him, and then he's definitely a sell for me now. So, yeah, that's my main injuries from this week.
Yeah. Fogarty, hey, he was doing pretty well the last little bit, but yeah, it sucks to have him go down like that, especially for a pod.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add or comment on before we get chucked into the games this week? We've got some crackers.
Nah, mate, I'm raring to go. I was pretty happy with Supercoach, as I said this week. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll jump into the Thursday night game with the Roosters and the Storm. Then Storm coming out on top 18-12. Tries to Hughes, Katoa, and Coates versus the Roosters, Michael Jennings and Joey Manu. A couple of bounce back scores and a couple of big scores from some of these players. In particular, a particular one that impressed me and top scored for the game, Eliesa Katoa, which was a nice one after I brought him in for his 30-something last week or whatever it was.
Yeah, mate, Katoa, I mean, he scored that try contentiously, but no, a very good score. Very good score.
Yeah, fantastic. Hughes looks really dominant this year. He's pushing out some really fantastic scores, and I think people that went him over Brooks, him or SJ over Brooks, are doing a lot better than me at the moment. Yeah, probably the other one that was really good. Sean Blort knocked out another good score in really good minutes, and I mean, he's going to be priced in the low 500s next week somewhere, or maybe even close to mid 500s. Where do we sit on him? Is it sort of a bit of an awkward price to jump on, you reckon?
I think it is awkward, but it just depends. It depends on the job security for me. I think at the moment he looks to be starting, and it doesn't really look like he's going to lose those minutes. So I wouldn't mind it. I think at the moment we have a plethora of edges. I think it's mids that we really need to focus on. But that's where all the injuries are happening, is your mids at the moment. But yeah, mate, I mean, it's an awkward price, but I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, if you got somebody in your team that went down this week, or you need somebody around that price, he's pretty good. There's some really good guys coming through at the moment, as you said. Yes. Moving down to the bottom of the Storm lineup, Pappenhausen 52. I mean, it's 52, but yeah, probably hoping for a little bit more. And Cameron Munster just hasn't really got going this year. Both the super guns, Dylan Brown and Cameron Munster. We should have just started with Galvin and Ethan Strange or Kyle Flanagan or something, eh?
Yeah, mate, absolutely. It's great to see some of your cashies actually making money, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with Money Munster. I don't know if he's scared of Bellamy or what's going on.
Yeah, he had a good one last week, but yeah, there's just so much more value in those other guys. We were worried about that at the start of the year. Where's the consistency? And this year's been anything but ordinary. So I suppose it's a bit hard to see that in hindsight.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, moving over to the Roosters now. We had Joe Manu top scoring for them with 68, which honestly is pretty low for a top score, to be honest. We had Angus 52. He's going to make some nice money, possibly not as high as we were hoping with the fantastic back-to-back scores and just how he's looked back to the Angus of old. But I mean, we'll take 52 in most weeks, so that's not too bad. More disappointments than real highlights for the Roosters in this one. We had Teddy 41, Terrell May again having concerningly low minutes and knocking out a 37, and Brandon Smith 24. There's some low scores across there. Did you own any of those three?
All three, mate.
Oh no! Oh, that's brutal.
I've got Cheese and Hooker. I've got Terrell May in my mid, Teddy as my fullback, and I've got Angus Crichton as well. So the four you mentioned.
Wow, look at that! Bring him into relevancy. Yeah, you're probably only one of them you'd give anywhere near a pass mark this week. The rest probably not super happy with. So we'll actually
Yeah.
talk a bit about that now. So the Roosters don't have a bye for a little while yet, but some of these guys aren't doing amazing at the moment. We've got concerns for minutes for, well, potentially May, because Lanu's coming back shortly as well. We've got Teddy not really lighting it up, and Cheese, that was not a great performance. Who are you sort of more inclined to hold strong with, and who are you more inclined to put close to the chopping block?
Look, I'm probably more inclined to hold with May because it's probably only his second bad score of the year. I think he's been pretty consistent. Cheese has had a few rough scores here and there, probably not as consistent as May. So I'm probably more likely to drop off Cheese. And with all those mid injuries I spoke of before in your front rowers, I don't think you can afford to drop May at the moment. You need him for cover.
Yeah, that's a good call. There's some other options in the hooker position that might be interesting to pivot to, but we'll get to them later. Is there anything else you wanted to comment on from this game? Because, like, we see Roosters versus Storm, we expect an absolute cracker of a match, but like it was sort of a bit more of a dogfight than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a Roosters fan myself. In case for those that don't know, but yeah, look, it was a tough night at the office. It as much as people want to, I don't like the referee blaming and things like that. I think as much as people want to say that, both teams dropped a lot of ball. It was a sloppy game, and it needs to be better. We want to watch a spectacle, as you said. Storm and Roosters is usually quite a good contest, so you want to see that week in, week out. But nothing else really to comment on player wise, Supercoach wise. Just wish I got better scores.
Yeah. Moving on to Friday night games, we started off with the first of a couple of interesting upsets. The Dragons really putting the Warriors to the sword there. Some really big scores from Ben Hunt. Lomax knocking out an 82, even though they took that assist off him. Ravalawa up for his first decent score of the year. Just some pretty decent, a really solid performance by the Dragons and some good defense. What were your thoughts on the Dragons team overall?
Yeah, I tipped them as well, which was awesome. Just that how they play at Wynn Stadium for me is very, very gritty. And with a coach like Shane Flanagan knows how to get the best out of a team, and Flano knows how to get those teams into the grind. And I think that's what he's done. We saw that with the Sharks in 2016. Zach Lomax, though, mate. I mean, what a talent he is. I cannot believe that this guy is complaining every week about his position in the team, but is absolutely beraining it at the moment.
He's complaining that he doesn't want to be a winger, and then last week he goes and makes that ridiculous bending in half catch behind his head, which like outdoes 95% of all wingers in the comp. And it's like, as a Para fan, I'm extremely happy to get him on the money that we have. So I'm looking forward to that next year.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Yeah. We have Gazaraki 123 coming, conscious commenting, Lomax to fall off cliff at the Eels. Well, Brad Arthur isn't known for coaching outside backs to fantastic defense and attack, but if he's there and if Lomax is there, we'll see how it ends up going. Probably the only really relevant guy that really flopped in this game is Kyle Flanagan from the Dragons. He's had some up and down ones and made some okay money to start the year off, but 2 of the last 3 matches are now sort of down in the 20 region, and he's probably a sell moving onward. If you had a Strange in your center wing, would you just switch him straight up there and look to buy center wing, or are you looking to switch him to another 5'8" if you had Flanagan?
Nah, I would do the first one you said, Strange to 5'8", and then look for a center wing. I think you got more options there in your center wings than you do at 5'8". You only get 2 options in your 5'8" anyway. You're starting and your reserve. So yeah, I think you're better off trying to find a center wing. If you don't have Kale Iro yet, get onto that. I mean, we'll talk about him soon, but If you don't have him, he's still a basement price. Jump on, or even Tommy Chester from Cowboys I really like as well. So a few options there.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick at all. It could be a really good one. Moving over to the Warriors side, we had CNK popping out another really good score. Is this dude on a mission to break the NRL record meters gains? Because I think he's averaging about 280 across these 3 games. What is this man doing? He's a machine.
Mate, he is an absolute gun. Becoming very Supercoach relevant for me, and you never know, I might be looking at a sneaky Teddy to CNK trade next week.
Honestly, with the Warriors run coming up, I wouldn't be super opposed to that. Who's he got coming off from this round? So they've just had Dragons. Round 8, they have Titans. And then they've got Knights, Roosters, Panthers, Dolphins. And then they have their bye. So a couple of tougher ones in there, but also a couple that, especially their next 2, that really they could put some points on, and he could be heavily involved in that. Have you liked what you've seen from a play style point of view from CNK this year? Because previous years he's sort of been that base stat guy, but never really been the huge tackle breaking, try assisting guy. But this year he seems like he might be a little bit more that way.
Yeah, it looks like he's come back from this injury just absolutely revitalized. He's come back, and all the talks about RTS, about Roger, and should he be at fullback? But I'm really like Roger at center. I don't think you need to move him at this point in time. CNK, as you said, with the run meters, like 298, I think it was in this game. Sorry, 258 in this game, and over 300 last week. So he's killing it. And I think he's flying under the radar a lot. People talk about your Dylan Edwards, your Reece Walsh, your Ryan Pappenhausen, but no one's talking about CNK, and I think they need to.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I think at his price point, especially given he'll go up a little bit this week now, well, more than a little bit, but it is a tough decision because there's no worry for Origin for him, but the Warriors don't have a fantastic Origin week schedule. But then you've got guys like Reece Walsh who have dropped a lot and are now cheap. Even Teddy, if he starts to pick up and things like that. But it's a good discussion moving forwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mate, who else from this Warriors team impressed you, Supercoach-wise, this week? We had a couple of the big names up the top, but possibly not as high as we were hoping for one of them.
Mate, I actually brought in Mitch Barnett this week as well, and was really impressed by Mitchy Barnett. A lower score compared to probably what he got last week, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. He's averaging about 55 minutes a game, which is not too bad there in the front row. So I'm really liking that. And of course, I'm really liking Tohu Harris as well. I think he's looking good.
Yeah, there's some really good base stat guys there, and I think Barnett is going to be pretty good from that minutes perspective. If we have a look at what he's done the last couple, I haven't got the stats up for this game, but 64 in round 6, 72 in round 5. And he's got that versatility to go to edge as well from his time at the Knights if there's anything goes wrong in the game. So he's going to stay on the field for a good portion of time.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting if he does get an Origin bench spot. There's a lot of talk about him being a smoky, but that'll be the only thing that would probably deter coaches from jumping on. But apart from that, I think he's a good shout.
Yeah, definitely. We had AFB return with the 73, SJ with the 68. Probably not happy if you captained him, although there were some guys who you were happy you captained him over them. But yes, Tamari Martin's probably the big name. After some two fantastic scores to start, he'll have one big price rise and then it'll be mostly gone. With 29, what it'll push his break even up to, like a 20 or a 30 sort of an area. Maybe no,
around 30.
Yeah,
You don't reckon?
it's
I reckon
probably
it
one
might.
and done for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. Especially especially because it'll push his price up as well. So yeah, it could be an interesting one because it's been a really good smash and grab cash flow, but you might need to move him on if he doesn't perform again this next week.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing he's got going for him though is the job security. I mean, with that injury to Luke Metcalf, there's no one coming behind him, so he's 100% in that team. That's the only thing that I would say is the only reason I would look at him is because I know that he's guaranteed a spot.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Any other Warriors players that sort of caught your eye or not so much? We covered most of the relevant guys. I guess DWZ warrants a mention.
Yeah, he does. I think there was a bit of talk during the week. A lot of people were talking about bringing him into Supercoach. I don't mind it. I'm not big myself on bringing in wingers. So in my wings and centers, I actually try to go a lot of centers or your center second row jewels, like your Jamin Salmons and your players like that, or fullbacks that can play center as well. I don't go a lot of wingers, but I think what DWZ does is incredible. And I think if you have him in your team, it's not a bad shout, although the price is getting up there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he averaged like 1.2 tries a game last year, so he started expensive for a reason. But I mean, he is an absolute weapon, and if the Warriors are firing, he's one to pick. But I mean, they've had a few stutters this Warriors team of recent, so maybe we could pick him up for a little bit cheaper if he does. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
But like, if you already have him, that's fine. Don't know if I'd go out of my way to buy him at this stage. What do you reckon?
Yeah, he's not a buy for me at this stage. Maybe around the origin period, depending if I'm short on outside backs during that stage, which I don't think I will be. But if I am, might have a look then. But yeah, not currently.
Yep. Okay. Anything else to note from this game other than please don't chase Ben Hunt's points?
Yeah, look, that is great. And I think if you are listening, do not chase Ben Hunt's points. We know we've seen this time and time again. Yes, he might be a footy gun, but that doesn't always relate to Supercoach. So please do not chase the points. Mate, I think you pretty much covered it all. I really liked Raymond Fatala-Mariner, of course, started for the Dragons, thought he did all right. And Tommy Eisenhoof as well at lock. I thought they were both pretty good.
Yeah, Eisenhuth's gone under the radar, hasn't he? Especially because of the Luciano signing. I think everybody just kind of wrote him off. But he's made some good money starting from there. It's probably a bit late now. But yeah, good. Well done to anybody who jumped on.
Oh, absolutely. I wish I did. I did not.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we'll move to the Eels and actually, no, this game didn't exist. It didn't happen. Only the first half happened because I turned it off and went and I had something else I needed to do, came back and nearly had a heart attack because there were 40 more points on the board for the wrong team. And I'm not a Bostock owner, so 131 for him. Massively impressive, but not massively impressive for me. So fair play if you held Bostock and didn't sell him, because 131 is going to kickstart his rises again. It's like Khan Pereira the other year. If you sold him too early and then he just bumped up again.
Mate, I don't even know where to start in this game for you, mate. Yeah, Bostock, incredible for the Finns. 3 tries there, a hat trick. I actually was one of the ones that sold him. I did have him in my team, so I am absolutely kicking myself.
Yeah, I can't remember what the stats were, but it was something. It was like about 20 times more people selling him than buying him. So it was a time to jump off, or so it seemed. But yeah, it's like it does bring back Khan Pereira vibes from last year when he kind of peaked a bit, then had another massive one and made another 150K. So well done if you did. Another one that's really, really, really interesting now is Max Plath is back with a 13 break even, and he belted out a 94. Looked really, really good. So he could be somebody because he's got a very interesting second row 5/8 duel, which I don't know how you'd move that around in your team, but is he somebody that we should be looking at?
Mate, I am absolutely looking at him. I think he is a genuine footballer. He's also got the name the match. I mean, Max Plath. What a name. Mate, I'm really keen on it. I think if he can hold this spot, that'll be the hardest thing. If he can lock down the lock position, I would look at bringing him in. I think the stats that he did, of course, 2 tries definitely boosted his score, but the stats, he had some great stats. So I'm definitely not opposed to it. And he's good to watch. Just a good footballer to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Who'd be the guy that might push him out? Would they... If Kafusi comes back, would they move Bromwich to lock? That'd be the only thing that'd probably stop him, eh?
Yeah, well,
Like
they were playing Kenny Bromwich at lock for a little bit. Ray Stone also has played there a little bit as well. So Ray Stone was on the bench, did play at 16. I don't actually know if the job security is that bad. I think after this performance, I'm hoping, obviously Bennett wasn't there because he was sick, but hopefully he watched this and he wants to give Maxi a bit of a run. I think you could move Ewan Aiken to the bench and put Kafusi straight into there and keep Bromwich in the second row as well.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, definitely, because he does look like a weapon. And against the tired big Eels middles, man, they were carving them up. So really, really good look for the Dolphins attack, and really good for Max Plath's chance of holding that spot. And yeah, Sean O'Sullivan, sorry, not Sean O'Sullivan, Ray Stone, I think, has to fall behind him in the pecking order after that, surely.
Oh, yeah, for sure, mate. I think he was probably slightly in front, but Max Plath has been talked about for a while. Shout out to the Rugby League Guru. He's a could be anything from way back. So, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic call by him. Just a lot of really good scores from the Dolphins in this game in a points fest. We saw Jeremy Marshall-King put together a good score. He's been a bit better than people, I think, have been making out. Like, everybody jumped on Coruscant and was like, wow, Coruscant is fantastic. And then he's just fallen off a cliff since. Jeremy Marshall-King, apart from the 42 last week, has been putting up decent scores. And the Dolphins have the Eels bye schedule from last year. They're the only team that plays all 3 of the major bye rounds. Is he a consideration for somebody like a Coruscant or a Cheese moving forwards?
First off, I own him. I start him. He got me a nice 79 in Supercoach. Great week. Stuff. I think he's definitely one to have. If you don't have him, I think he's definitely an option for the Cheese. Absolutely. I mean, I love Brendan. I'm a Chooks man. I love the Cheese. But I think if you can, I think it's time to jump off. Look at someone like your Marshall-King. As you said, a great buy schedule there as well.
Yep, agree with that. Isaiah Katoa has turned into... He's sort of trying to be a cash cow again this year. It's quite interesting. Can we just get a bit of love for Josh Kerr going? How does he get these scores in these minutes? I don't understand. Like, this dude's better than Terrell May for these random points per minute stuff.
Yeah, mate. I was just going to touch on him before. He was incredible. He only played 28 minutes. He played 28 minutes. I mean, that's an amazing score in that period of time. So he should be definitely talked about.
Yeah. Like, if you've done that without a try in that time period, that's elite levels. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So I think he's definitely... Look, after his low scores and his low minutes, you can't really buy him. But yeah, just One to just keep an eye on for the future because he could be a real weapon if he gets into the starting team in the next year or two. So fantastic watch from him. Hasn't there been a little bit of conversation about whether he snags even an Origin bench spot?
Yeah, there's been a bit of talk
Is that
about
him
Origin.
or expecting him for someone else?
Yeah, no, definitely him. He is a Queenslander, so there has been talk. I don't know if they go down that path yet. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Of course, I don't really care what Queensland do. I am a New South Welshman, so they can do whatever they like. But if they were to pick him, I would be nervous because he's a great player.
Yeah, fantastic there. Sean O'Sullivan, not really somebody relevant unless he gets into that starting team because he's going to be mega, mega cheap if he keeps playing 3 seconds off the bench. But yeah, Katoa's doing a good job. I don't think he's gonna do much until he's actually in that starting spot. So yeah. Anything else from the Dolphins side of things? We switch over to what limited good there was from the Eels.
Before we jump over, just shout out to Trey Fuller. I thought he did really well in the absence of the hammer. Scored a nice try, ran for 191 meters. So I thought he was really good at the back. Yeah,
nice job. And as another great name, Fuller for a fullback, you can't get much better than that.
Yeah, that's it.
Some good ones in here. All right. Oh, we have somebody in for the perfect timing. Hey, Mr. Charity, we just got to the top of the Eels.
Oh, look at that. He doesn't even want to talk about it. We can't hear him.
Maybe it's a good... No, he's turned his mic off. He doesn't want to talk about it. Look, mate, I'm in a similar boat. I had Will Penasini in fantasy a couple of weeks back, sold him, and now he's kind of doing well. But yeah, the rest of the Eels, Dylan Brown, 60, saved himself so hard with that try at the end. And Lussick, 51, with 2 try assists. With the assists, it's just... He's on limited lifespan for me. A couple of these hookers floating around look really juicy to pivot to.
Yeah, I held on to Will Penasini, which was really good. So did get a good score from him this week. As you said, Dylan Brown, I had him as well. Saved. He was almost out the door in my Supercoach team. I mean, I might have to reassess this week. Putting a big fat line through Parramatta. Sorry, boys, but not really much else to touch on.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Charity? Have we got some defense?
No defense. It's pretty sure. Listen, I'm a Parramatta Eels supporter, and I borrowed the Cowboys jersey for the Cowboys game today that I was at. So I'm not having a very good supporter week, nor a good Supercoach week. But here I am. It's all about accountability and rocking up for the good and the bad. And here I am with are you ready for it, boys? My 743 total that I got in Supercoach this week.
Whew.
Oh, no. How did you manage that? That's pretty dire levels.
Mate, before today, my highest scoring player was Angus Crichton. That's how my week's going.
Oh, no.
So, but we persevere. My Supercoach team was about as good as the Parramatta Eels were on Friday night. That was a great game to watch as a supporter. Really good to see the Dolphins just crushing it, though. Like, I'm a big fan of the Dolphins. Love it. Love to see them going well. Just at the expense of my team isn't great. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things. I think now Parramatta is going to be in everyone's matchup targets for Supercoach moving forward. So, very interesting. What did you think of it, Scoop?
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting because, like, it's not a usual game, but you can read a little bit into it. So I had a mate who lives in Darwin, and he said it feels like 35 degrees here, and the Eels are warming up in the aircon. And I'm like, I don't know what I like at this. And it came true in the second half. So I think the Eels, with their big men, they have a great forward pack, but they are big and they will suffer in the heat. But I think teams are now going to try and exploit that mobility a little bit. And I think the Eels themselves now have to think, does Brad Arthur actually now play a proper forwards bench so that his forwards don't get tired instead of just leaving somebody out there for 0 minutes?
Bit of talk out of today, boys. They're looking at maybe rescheduling if Darwin happens, because that is the third loss in a row for Parramatta for Darwin. So you may not have that road trip anymore. Hopefully for you Para fans, you won't. But yeah, wasn't looking good.
Yeah, not a fun watch.
If they were to place it, I wouldn't mind Cowboys Finns up there. That would be really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that the Eels are sponsored by the Northern Territory Council or whatever it is. So that's why they take them up there. They've got a feeder program built out there, I'm pretty sure, as well. So it started off really good for us, the Darwin experiment, but has just gone downhill since. I think what we saw from this game, which is really, really positive to see from the Dolphins, was the fact that they went up there to Darwin where they knew the humidity was going to be high. We were going to see players gas out, and they went with a very light forward rotation. So like the likes of Max Plath, just a smaller body through the middle up against the bigger bodies. The first couple of minutes was going to be tough. The first 20 minutes was going to be tough. But after that, when fatigue kicks in, that mobility through the middle, I'm so grateful that Hammer wasn't there to tear us apart as well. And that's where we saw a lot of the points come through speed, which was great to see.
Yeah, probably would have scored about 207 in that second half.
Yeah. Not fun.
Yeah. Moving on to the rest of the Supercoach side of things, a couple of low scores in there, of course, but some injury concerns as well. So we had reports that Gutherson had to have fluid drained from his knee during the week, which is not a good sign for him moving forwards just for his overall fitness. And Ozzy failed a HIA. So we might see Blaze Talangi back in the halves for a game or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the people that held are probably going to be rewarded over this next couple, or at least week or two. Yeah, nice. Especially if Gutherson is injured, we may even get to see Talangi at 1, which is where the future of Parramatta is apparently going to be, which would be great to see him in first grade playing his natural position. We might even see the likes of, like a Madison moving to 6, if we're that short on halves as well. Or maybe we see the debut of Ethan Sanders. The internal issues that are going on there looks like that probably won't happen. So we'll probably see a pairing of Brown and either a Madison or a Talangi, depending on if Gutho's out.
Yeah, be one to look for. But yeah, that probably covers the Eels game, and I don't want to dwell on that 40-point second half anymore. So I'm going to start talking about the Panthers versus the Tigers now. On a much nicer note, we had a return to form from some second-row guns. Bateman knocking out an 87, Papali'i with a 63. Stefano Utoikamanu had a bit of a comeback to earth after some really big minutes and really good scores, a 39. And then another couple of 30s from some really relevant guys. Joey, what did you make of some of those Tigers guys?
I was really impressed with the edges as you spoke on, Isaiah Papali'i and John Bateman. The only thing I was worried about with Isaiah Papali'i was the tackles, boys. He made 47 tackles and missed 6 of them. So could have got an even bigger score there. Johnny Bateman, 23 tackles, missed 2. But I thought they were really good in attack. They ran pretty well, 157 metres for Johnny Bateman, 98 for Papali'i. The return of Lockie Galvin, boys, that was great. I held him, waited for him to come back. Of course, it's been 2 weeks. Was glad. I thought he really... You could see the injection in that Tigers team once he came back compared to when Sullivan was there for the 2 weeks. I think Galvin really brings a lot of youth and a lot of exuberance to that team.
Yeah, definitely agree. The kick in to get the repeat set early in the first half, I was like, that's well beyond the skill level that we usually see out of 18, 19-year-olds. So really, really good to see. I think he's going to be a super coach gun in the next, over the course of this season, even similar to sort of what we see from Strange, where Strange will score really high points and every now and again get a 30 or a 20 or whatever it is. We'll probably see similar to that with Galvin. At least that's my assessment of it to begin with.
Yeah, and I mean they're also playing the Panthers too, so you can't expect the world from it in that because they're an absolute weapon of a team. Yeah, for somebody to come back and still be making a bit of money from then on, he's going to probably be somebody that we are relatively happy to carry, but somebody that not so happy to carry. Even though he played 80, he scored in the 30s. What are we going to do with Coruscant, Mr. Charity?
Yeah, look, I think he's a gun. You've got to hold him. It's up against the Panthers, who are really good at shutting down, teams and their attack. I think any other team, he probably scores that 40 or 50. It wouldn't be alarm bells for now. I wasn't one of those people that brought him in, although the way my team's going, I might as well have. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the next couple of weeks. I think anyone who holds him will most likely be rewarded, whether it be next week or the week after. Coruscant is a gun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because with Galvin back, I think it should help a little bit more with attack as well. They do have Broncos next week, which could be another low one, but after that, Bulldogs, Newcastle, Dolphins, Cowboys. By then, they've got the Dragons and the Titans. I didn't realize that it was actually that good, especially just around that first Origin bye. So could be good. Could be some good ones.
Yeah, the only thing to keep an eye out with Coruscant if you're holding him through that bye period is I'm pretty sure the Tigers, that first Origin, they play the first game straight after that against the Titans. I'm pretty sure it is. So that's probably just one of the watchers that you need to keep an eye out. He'll most likely be rested for that game.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be one to watch because it's a 3-horse race, but it's narrowing down to 2 pretty quick with Robson and Coruscant. So, Joey, have you got opinions on how the New South Wales hooker setup is going to look? Who would you pick at the moment?
Yeah, so I think for me, Robson and Coruscant are definitely up there, but I actually like the Smoky and Wade Egan. Everyone's been talking about Egan as potential, and I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing Egan actually start and have like an Appy at 14. I don't think Madge is going to run 2 hookers because most of them can play 80. Robson and Coruscant can both play 80, so I don't know if he will run 2 hookers. But if he does, I wouldn't mind seeing Wade Egan get a crack.
Love that shout. All right. Anything else from the Tigers? There's probably a bit to cover, I guess. Latu Fanu is going to be gun of the future, but don't buy him for the name or just because he's got in the team. 13 points is what you're going to get from the bench.
I thought Samuel was pretty good, though. His brother, 115 meters off the bench as well. I thought he did really well.
He's been crushing it lately, which is great to see.
Yeah, he's
gun in the under-20s Origin, and just great to see him transitioning pretty seamlessly into the NRL. Benji's put a lot of faith into him as well, and he's just been going great. Love to see it. I'm not sure if he's on a negative break even, but he will most likely be on a negative break even after scoring a 61. So great little different sort of play. Would have been great if you had got on him earlier, but with the suspensions and I think one low score in there deterred a lot of people.
Yeah, it'll be one to watch for sure, especially if he does end up getting decent minutes heading towards that Origin period. Because, I mean, he still is pretty cheap, and if he's going to get good minutes, it could be one to go for. But one other relevant guy that I almost glossed over, Junior Tupo out with what they reckon is a broken foot. We still don't have Stafford Toa back, so who are we most likely going to see move into? We're going to Staines is probably going to stay in that outfit for a while longer now. Who do you reckon is going to come in?
For Tape, was he the one that was there before Naden got named this week? He's been there the past few weeks. Solomona, I think his name is
Yeah.
Solomona Fatape.
Fatape, yeah.
Sorry if I got that wrong. Yeah, I think he'll come straight
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah, I'm along that.
Yeah,
Maybe
could just be-
Kapoa, potentially
Kapoa
Kapoa
too.
comes in, but yeah, might even see Lob actually.
Yeah, it depends what
that'd
they
be
want to
interesting
do
to
with
see.
him. That'd be great. He's one of those guys that we're all hyped up for about 3 days in the preseason, then we're like, nah, there's no way, and then he just disappears again.
He's
Yeah.
about 6'5".
All
I'd
right,
love to see him out there.
Yeah, it'd be great. All right. Well, moving on to the Panthers now, we have Isaiah Yeo, who just always puts out gun scores at second row. It's sort of hard to get on him because Panthers always have him away for Origin, and he's always so expensive to start that year. He's no nonsense, but he gets you those points. What is he priced at the moment? He is nearly 750 at the moment. So yeah, there's not really any love to buy him at the moment heading into Origin, surely.
I jumped on early. I've had him all year. He's been one of my second rowers most of the season. Yeah, and definitely rewarded. I mean, he got me a 90 in Supercoach. I just wish I captained him.
Don't worry, I versed a Yo captain against my Ponga captain, so yeah, it's a great week.
Fantastic. Yeah, not too many forwards captains generally flog fullbacks captains by that margin, but it does happen when you have injuries like that from time to time. Another fullback that did well, Dylan Edwards continues to do really well with Cleary out. I'll be interested to see what happens when he's back in, if he's finally back this next week. But at this stage, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, he's been doing really, really well, really good. Fisher Harris also pumped out an 85 after that big Warriors signing. Very exciting. Yeah, any comments on those on Dylan Edwards, Joey?
Yeah, mate. Dylan Edwards reminds me a lot of Matty Bowen. The era when Matty Bowen played alongside Thurston, and whenever Thurston was out, Matty Bowen was the man at the Cowboys. And Dylan Edwards is like that with Cleary. Whenever Cleary's out, he just goes to a whole new level. He has run for over 200 meters 5 games in a row. Like, that's insane.
Crazy.
Be him versus C&K for the title this year.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
Yeah, good stuff. We had Taylor May out this week due to undisclosed possible multiple personal reasons, but we will see. Paul Alamotti knocking out at 72 in his absence. We knew Alamotti was going to be a weapon in this Panthers outfit, surely. Like at the Bulldogs, he showed he had bits of spark. And if he ever ends up getting a long-term position in this team, he is going to be very, very good. So good on him. Couple of middling scores that you're probably okay with, but not majorly disappointed with or excited in the middle. And then Liam Henry, if you held him after that -1, you're probably not real happy with the 27. You're hoping to get back on track and make a bit more. But yeah, that PPM and that money making sort of looking a long way away right now.
At this rate,
Did either of you hold Liam Henry? I did. Yeah.
Yep, I should have captained him, to be honest, but we get through it. No, look, I think with James Fisher Harris coming back from injury, we always knew his minutes would be downgraded. His points per minute is really good. He gets on the field and literally makes every tackle in a set if they are like in his general direction. He's got a lot of a base. He just needs a couple more attacking stats, which is very rare for someone like him to get. But all it takes is one injury in the forward pack for him to get extra minutes. You bought him. Most of you would have bought him at bottom dollar for that 238K, and he's worked out pretty well for you, depending on when you've sat him and when you've played him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few weeks.
I had him for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's probably all you needed, to be honest. So he made some decent money. Somebody that is good to just touch on. Isaac Tungo is going to start losing a lot of money starting from this week. 156 break even, and he scored 58. So he's one of those guys, a bit like Ruben Garrick, just to see where he bottoms out, because he could be really good through that origin period if he's not playing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends on how many weeks in a row he comes up against a back rower, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else from either the Panthers or the Tigers that you noticed or were impressed by before we move on to the Points Fest?
I was actually pretty impressed with Scott Sorensen. Of course, hasn't been back for long. Didn't have bulk run meters, 78, but I thought he was really good there at the second row. It was, for me, what I really enjoyed about him was the tackles, 38 tackles, only missing 4. So I thought Sorensen was pretty good. Probably not relevant. Does cost quite a bit in Supercoach, so I wouldn't be jumping on. I don't jump on a lot of Panthers. It's pretty much Cleary and then maybe an Edwards in draft, but that's about it.
Yep. Fair. All right. This next game, I honestly thought we were going to see records broken with the highest losing score, because they were on 30-34 at about 56 minutes in. And I remember thinking the Titans also were involved in this record game the last time, I think against the Storm. And then they just didn't score any more points for the entire rest of the second half. But yeah, we had some interesting scores out of that. We had Turbo with 2 tries and a couple of assists and stuff like that, and he's only managed to 86. David Fafita also 86, coming off the bench again. Cam Pereira bagging a couple. It was just scores are sort of all over the place in this match. Mr. Charity, what did you take out of this match? Because it was a bit of a wild one.
I was sitting down watching this with my parents, and when we got to that 56th minute, I said, we're going to see the record broken here. The record is this, and was looking it up and talking about it. And then when the game was over, I said that 25 minutes ago, and not a single point has been scored since then. So sorry if I cursed anyone by saying that. After the game, I look at the Supercoach scores and I go, surely this is just the halftime scores. After that amount of points, not so many errors. There was a couple of errors throughout it, but it wasn't crazy amount of errors that you saw so many negative points. Very odd one, this one. I'm very surprised by some of the scores we saw, but entertaining game to watch. That's for sure. Back and forth, constant tries. Those Turbo captainers would have been spewing, but then seen the results of some of the other captainers and thought, this actually worked out all right for us.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Probably the only couple that we weren't super happy with. I know a lot of people jumped straight on Ruben Garrick because they thought this would be a really good matchup for him. He is now going to lose a lot of money. I think he missed his break even by over 100. So he's gonna drop the stacks there. And Luke Brooks, after a good start, he's put out a bunch of 40s and 50s, which when people went SJ is starting to hurt quite a lot. So I think both you and me, Mr. Charity, ended up doing that. So I wish I hadn't in hindsight.
I started with Brooks, so at least I didn't waste a trade on it. But it's just the gift that keeps giving each week. So I'm hurting from it, but we persevere. The plan was always to go Brooks to Cleary when Cleary came back, or when Cleary came back from the bye even before the injury. And now it's just looking more and more out of reach. So, yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting next couple of weeks to try and save my team. I'm on the phone with Sangster to see if I can just get a full team trade and see if that works out.
It's a bit like that. Maybe they'll need to upgrade our squads to 30, like a regular top 30 squad.
Is there a Supercoach plus where we just get infinite trades? I think I'll subscribe to that. Yeah.
So What about you, Joe? What are your thoughts on some of these Manly players who are losing coin or bottoming out, especially like your Brooks and your Garricks types?
Yeah, I haven't had any of them, even for this year at all. The only one I had was Ben Travojevic, and then obviously jumped off this week with the injury last week. So I think if you can get Garrick at a low price, I would be interested. I think if you can get Garrick to 300, 400s, 500, I'd be looking at maybe bringing him in. I think he'd be great over that origin period. Of course, with probably Tommy out as well, Garrick could move back to fullback, either him or Kula. So I wouldn't mind jumping on Garrick around that origin period. The one for me, Luke Brooks, I was really hoping that he would be a Supercoach gun this year. The points are starting to dwindle a little bit. It seems that Cherry Evans is just taking over, and he is just absolutely killing it at the moment. So I definitely wouldn't be going out and buying Brooks anytime soon. And then Tommy, I think, is good, but definitely not having a season we've seen in the past. But we know what Tommy can do. Again, if he does get a low price, I might be interested, but I'm okay at the moment for my fullbacks and my centre wings.
Yeah. That probably covers us for Manly. There weren't any major injuries for this. I suppose the only other news is Carl Lawton signed with the Cows from next year in 2026. But other than that, I think that's just about covered. Moving over to the Titans, we talked about some of these top scorers. Campera, Dave Fifita, Brimson had a good one, and the last millisecond return of Tana Boyd after he was dropped. Beau Fermor probably is one of the main ones, knocking out a 49, which is not terrible and not amazing. But yeah, so anybody that probably jumped on Khaleesi Haas at a cheap price, hoping for some really good money making, did not end up with good minutes, and it looks like he's going to be on the sell list pretty shortly.
Yeah, I had him in draft, thank God, not in classic. So saved myself there.
Yeah, definitely. The Titans, I don't know what to make of them. They have tools, but they aren't really using them effectively to get wins at the moment. And honestly, until either David Fifita is going to play 80 minutes consistently or they start winning games, I don't know if I want to touch really any of these guys. What about, is there anybody who sticks out to you in this team that could be a buy at some point other than them?
Do you want to go, Joey? Or
oh, yeah, sure, I'll go. I mean, I don't mind AJ Brimson if he can land dual position. If he is he already?
He's got it. He's got it now. CTW fullback.
Yeah.
If he stays at fullback, I want him.
No.
But just the consistency about whether or not he will be there. He's at about $583. He had a break even of 62 and got 67, so he won't go up by too much. If he's constantly named at fullback, do we know how long Campbell's out for?
I'm not sure.
I think it's supposed to be 6 weeks.
Right.
I mean, that may actually be an option. The Titans seem to be getting better each week, from at least what I've seen. I know the defense isn't great, but they are starting to get very close to a win, and that win is due anytime soon. So if they keep AJ at fullback, I wouldn't mind going there, but I just have about 1,000 other fires I think I've got to sort out. So.
Yeah. Do we see the return of Kiney?
I wouldn't, but who knows?
I don't know. Look, he had a shot. He's going to be good, but I think they're just going to give him some time. I think they'll have another crack at him at later.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from this game, or should we move on to the Broncos and the sad story of the Raiders?
Yeah, mate. I just don't. I feel for the Titans. I mean, they just scored 30 points and still lost the game. I just don't know what more they have to do. To me, they're looking better than the Rabbitohs at the moment, but obviously the Rabbitohs had the bye, so now a bit higher than the Titans. But I just feel for them, But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So moving on to last Saturday match, we had Reece Walsh dominant on his return, 110. Just didn't get to his break even 164, but he's going to put a massive dent in that price slide, and we're probably going to pick him up for about low 600s. That's a pretty good price. But now with Ponga having that potential injury, we also have probably origin considerations. Is he still somebody you'd want to pick up for as a straight swap for Ponga as a charity?
I don't know. It's a really, really tough one because you obviously want Ponga in your team, but if he's going to be staying out and we're not going to be seeing the best out of Ponga, you need to trade to someone. I just think there's maybe some other fullbacks that, especially if you're going to have that strategy around, I need to bring in a fullback to cover me during Origin, then I think you need to look elsewhere. But if you want to do it as like a short-term play, he's going to have this 110 in his rolling average. He did seem a little bit timid the first game back from injury, which is where he scored that 38. Hopefully these hundreds keep coming. I just remember like watching him this game and just going, my God, he's just so good. And it hurts as a New South Wales fan to see, but he's that good. It's crazy to see a footballer with that speed coming back from an injury. Granted, it was a facial fracture, but he's just great to watch and great for rugby league. And hopefully great for someone's super coach.
Yeah. Somebody else, I mean, I don't say go out and buy Ezra Mann because Adam Reynolds is about to come back. That's probably something we should touch on. All of the Broncos troops are basically expected to all be back at once next week. So some of these guys, like Ezra Mann, will stop scoring well. What did he score in those first couple of games? He scored like 20 and then went on a bit of a tear, a bit like Braden Trindle. But yeah, please don't go out and buy Ezra Mann now. Cobbo had a good score of 82. Carrigan continues to get through the work. He's like a little bit of budget Isaiah Yeo. Then down the bottom, we had a couple of others. If you're still holding on to Arthur's, not such an awesome score. Xavier Willison, though, for his price, you're happy with those dollars still moving forwards. What about you, Joey? Have you got any of those Broncos I mentioned?
Nah, mate, I've still got Piakura holding him. He will be back hopefully next week. Yeah, I'm really hoping that we will actually get to see the best of Piakura as has been touted all season, and we obviously haven't seen it yet. So hopefully holding Piakura has been good. I do have Arthurs in draft, but not in classic, thank God. But just to touch on Reece Walsh, I'm really interested in bringing Walsh in. I'm really tempted by this. I think for me, sometimes Supercoach isn't just about bringing in the best players. It's also about bringing in the players that are entertaining and fun to watch because it makes a really good spectacle. And you know that Reece Walsh has that in his game. He can score 110 and then you know that he might score 12 the next week. But you just know that he's a competitor and he is great to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't mind that at all. I am a bit upset that I don't own Xavier Willison because he's shown that he has what it takes to be a good NRL prop at the moment. And even though Payne Haas is coming back, I still think he's going to maintain a spot in that team now. It's probably just going to be a Liam Henry type where if you don't have him, it's going to be reduced now. It's probably not one to get from then on. What's he going to be priced at? So he is 336 minus 12 break even. Yeah, so it'll be high 300s, lowish break even. Yeah, that's sort of not somebody I want as a lowish minute bench prop probably from then on.
Yeah, not if he's playing on the bench.
Yeah. All right. Moving over to the Raiders, who got touched up a little bit, but still decent score from Tarpanay, 59. More on the lower side of scores from here. Josh Papali'i won back the clock, 65. Smithies only managed to tackle his way to a 45. Schiller will still make a lot of money from a 35, but that's going to be it for him, basically. Surely Hapawade comes back from the burn this week. But mostly also because he signed a deal elsewhere as well. Knights, wasn't it? A couple of years at the Knights.
Yeah,
so
Newcastle.
I think Ricky might not be inclined to keep him in that spot. We'll go just straight back to Hopewadi, I'd say. What do you reckon, Joey?
Mate, it's the Ricky effect. Who knows where these players are going to play? Ricky, you could think Hopewadi's back next week and he'll throw Papali out on the wing. So you just don't know with Ricky. The way he picks his teams is just mental. I mean, we all jumped on Chevy Stewart at the start of the year thinking he was going to be the fullback, and he's only just come in. And KO Weeks was another one. I mean, he'll probably be a lot more relevant now that Fogarty is injured. But, I can't trust Ricky. In saying that, I have about 6 Raiders in my team. So.
Yeah, it's something. We'll talk about that later because a lot of Raiders are going to be out with the bye coming up shortly. Yeah. So Levi doesn't score well unless he scores a try. 30 is what you're going to get, probably ceiling without a try. Ethan Strange 30, which is a come down from his really good week last week, but that'll happen sometimes. It's like what Galvin did versus the Panthers this week. He's going to have a down game against really good teams. And I mean, Chevy Stewart 17, he runs really good. He's got heart, but he scores like Blake Taff.
It was the drop balls.
Yeah. But I don't want to hear any disrespect onto the name of Danny Levi, who based a 30, which is double what he gets. He doubled his output. So just want to make that clear on this podcast that we don't disrespect the hooker goat this year. So, but we can carry on.
I've had him all year. He has done great.
Yeah.
I mean, his BE is pretty low, so I think he's done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody that's hasn't been massively Supercoach relevant in the past because kick meters aren't measured in Supercoach, but he has scored 82, 96 last few. Unfortunately, now he's going to be out. Jamal Fogarty, 15, ruptured bicep. Unfortunately, that is going to be the end of him. I wasn't probably expecting to talk him on a non-fantasy podcast, but Joey, you've apparently got the big man.
Yeah, mate, I've got him in both. Obviously, we don't talk about the other one, but I've got him in Supercoach as well as my half. But as I said, I do have Cleary on the bench, so Cleary is ready to come straight back in. I've held him the whole time. It's just who do I sell Fogarty to? Do I have the cash to get up to Nico, or do I downgrade? I mean, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, it's an awkward price point. It's like, it's sort of like a Luke Brooks price point. It's an awkward one to go up or down from. But yeah, it's one that we have to make a decision on for sure if you do have him. Anyone else from this match to touch on? Who's going to come in? Surely Weeks comes in to the halves now, or are they going to persist with something different? There's been whispers that Sanders from the Eels might come across. Do they reckon they'll try and fast track that? Or Sexton has also been linked, so who knows what happens? I guess we'll find out.
I think Weeks. I think Weeks comes in, and then we can finally jump on and hopefully make some cash.
Yeah, that'd be good. Hopefully it just isn't like a 2-week thing, and that'll be in the bye, and then he'll disappear for some unknown reason, and we'll be jumping up and down. But yeah, hopefully we can get some more Raiders plays into our team because that's what we need.
Yeah,
we love to play the Ricky Roulette. It's great. Mr. Charity, anybody else from these two teams you want to touch on before we go on, or shall we get on to the two Sunday games?
Yeah, let's just get this week out of the way. It's killing me.
Yeah, I think the Raiders might fall down a little bit now. Yeah, I think we've got a comment just down below. Look, Raiders. They reckon the Raiders are going to fall away rapidly. Week's going to bring the Raiders up. Fogarty's kicking has been pushing teams back into corners and helping them into games. I think they're going to miss that a lot because Weeks and Strange both have been they do no kicking. So they're going to either have to use themselves as more a kicker or do something drastically different, I think is going to hurt, especially for a few weeks, and then we'll see what happens moving forward from that.
Can I just say, touching on that, at the start of the year, I actually called the Raiders to get the spoon. I've been eating my words the first 7 weeks, but now it's all happening. Fogarty is gone. Weeks and Strange are both relatively unknowns. I mean, it's going to be very hard to run that team. They've lost 550 games of experience in Whiten and Croker, and then now you're losing Fogarty as well. So unfortunately, I think it's a bit of panic stations for the Raiders, but we also know that when Ricky's back is against the wall, that's when he thrives. So who knows?
Yeah. Great. That'll be a good one. All right, we'll move on to the Bulldogs versus the Knights match, and we had Jacob Kiraz turning up. It seems it's like a seasonal cycle for Kiraz. He scores about 12, 100, 12, 100. It's not quite that extreme, but he scored 4 scores this year below 50 and a 70 and then 200. So you know that you're going to get a good score every now and then. It just depends whether they give him the ball or not. So well done for Kiraz owners. That's a pretty decent score.
Yeah, definitely.
Another one. Yeah, Sam Hughes showed us what he would have got last week without that sin bin by going over for another try and getting a 68. I couldn't help but laugh. I said in one of the game day chats, I said, "Great, now to avoid the sin bin," and thankfully he did. And yeah, he's going to continue to make a little bit of money now, which is good.
It was interesting heading into this game. Try scorer bingo just needed number 8 to score, and then over went Sammy Hughes. So if you had try scorer bingo on 1 to 13, all scored this week.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep,
fantastic. Yep. Looking through this list, Reed Marnie had another really good game, although he nearly wrecked it by getting himself binned and then having a punch up with Hetherington, although probably more initiated by Heatho. I don't know if you've seen the square up in the tunnel, but that will probably be talked about over the next few days on the next pod. So watch out for that one. Matty Burton with an 80. He's having a couple of good scores now. And I mean, look, the Knights looked a bit busted, especially with Ponga running around in 1.5 legs for most a good chunk of the game. But what do we think of the Dogs going forwards? Because that left edge is dangerous. Where do we see them floating around this year, Mr. Charity?
I've actually said this to a couple of my friends. The Dogs this year have probably been one of the most consistent teams in terms of just the output that they put into every single game. You know, even the games where the Parramatta Eels is probably their worst performance that game. But every game they've been in the fight. The Sharks game, they lost by a lot, but for about, I'd say probably 60 minutes, I think, of that game, they were really, really competitive. And we're starting to see the fruits of that labor pay off now, where they're starting to believe in themselves. They're getting a bit of hype around themselves, and the combinations are starting to stick. That left edge looks insane at the moment. At the start of the year, we spoke about all these mid-range 2RFs, and Kickow was one of the names that was floated, but everyone said, no, that's probably at the bottom of everyone's list. Turns out him along with Kai Pearce-Paul in this game as well, have been the two best sort of like mid-range or low-end mid-range 2RFs. It's been crazy to see, and if you've jumped on them or had that pod play of going with Amani at number 9, you've been rewarded, that's for sure, out of a team that's still not even in the 8 after looking really impressive over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some of these guys are lowish ownership, and we just own all the wrong ones, it seems. All the low ceiling ones. So some of them are doing okay. Like Sam Hughes has been on and off doing okay. Salmon's been slowly crawling up. Probably only one you probably didn't really want to have is Drew Hutchison, who's kind of not done much at all. He's had like one good score and then a bunch of 40s. So, but yeah, I mean, we had a lot of current owners will be reasonably happy with a 59, especially if you've chucked him at front row forward with that dual being added. Addo-Carr 59 after that monstrous score last week will get his price kicking along. Depends if you brought him in for that though. So like, I probably wouldn't have recommended doing that, but I mean, if that left edge, if he gets a lot of tries, could be something.
Yep, I had both Curran and Addo-Carr.
Yeah, not a bad result then.
I had Max King on my bench, and then kept an eye on it the whole week because I saw him keep climbing up and not be removed from the team. I'm like, I've got to keep an eye on this. And on the train to Shark Park, I started watching a video. I finished watching the video, and then I looked, and it was 2:10, and I went, oh, I got to check the game. And then I see Max King on 20 already, and I went, what have I done to myself? This week, please just end. So it's been great. I had to play Salmon over him, which wasn't too bad. So I'll take it. My week.
Yeah. Salmon, look, he's finally got himself, I wouldn't say rolling, but coasting just gently. He's going to slowly make his way up in price. But yeah, someone that you can plug and play if you need him. But yeah, someone that is at a price point and a position you can sort of use him for something useful. Probably more exciting are, well, not for footy wise, but fantasy wise, Kai Pearce-Paul is a fantastic human being for football and a fantastic human being for Supercoach. 84 is fantastic. What else do we have to say about him, Joey?
I had him, of course. I had a great week in Supercoach, boys. Sorry, Mr. Charity. But yeah, I had Kai Pearce-Paul there. He gives me Sonny Bill vibes. He gives me Sonny Bill Williams vibes when he plays. The fend he has and how strong he is through the legs and the running. He's just an out-and-out footballer. And I think Australian football is luckier to have him coming over from the English Super League as well. So it's been really good having Kai Pearce-Paul around.
Yeah. I mean, we heard the hype in preseason, this dude's a gun. And then Dylan Lucas sort of started there. We're like, well, they're both pretty good. What's going to happen? And he's really clinched that now. So I think, look, moving forwards, I think when Frizzell eventually retires, we could see these two sitting there. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be in any danger of shifting out. Somebody that I'm definitely now keeping an eye on from this game is Jaden Bradley. Played 80 minutes of football and scored 48. So he's at 311k, 16 break even. So he'll start to go up a little bit now. I think this is the pivot. If you've got a hooker that needs to go, is it just Jaden Bradley time, Mr. Charity?
It's looking that way. What else do we do? I'm contemplating doing Grant down to Brayley at this rate. I did the Lussick to Grant trade 2 weeks ago, only to watch Lussick outscore Grant 2 weeks in a row. So, yeah, look, I think Brayley has always been on my radar of someone that I'm probably going to move Levi to. But yeah, just great to see a decent level of output, and hopefully it stays this way.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he's not the flashiest, highest scoring hooker in Supercoach, but we don't need him to be after some of the injuries that Paul Bloke's had. He is priced very cheap, and he'll do a job for us and meander up to somewhere around the 500k mark, you'd think, before we can upgrade him. Maybe he's our round 13 hooker before we make an upgrade.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Boys, what do we think about... We have to get down there eventually. What are we going to do with these two outside backs that are guns that aren't doing anything? Ponga has been doing things, but now he's got a hip pointer and a foot injury, and I captained him for 14 points, and I think you may have also done similarly, Mr. Charity. And Greg Marshew, 30 points despite being on the left. There's about 3 or 4 guys who've missed their break-evens by 100 this week. Which ones are we looking to pick up? And which ones are we looking to potentially fade out of like your Tuggos, your Garricks, your Marju types?
Look, I wouldn't mind picking up Marju depending on who the 5'8 is for Newcastle. They got to stop changing it every week. If you can get a Jack Cogger in there who gets good service out that way, I wouldn't mind jumping on Marju, I think, once he bottoms out in price. Ponga, I've got in the other one that we won't talk about. So I don't know. It depends how long he'll be out, whether we have to trade him or not, but I don't have him in Supercoach. You spoke on Garrick. I think Garrick's a really good option. We spoke before about over the origin period with Tommy, but yeah, I'm interested in Marju depending on who the 5'8 is.
Good chat.
Yeah, because like Marju's had Cogger on the bench in those first couple of games, and then he went out and Cogger came in, and now it's switched doors again, and Cogger went out and Marju came in. So we haven't really seen what that could be like this year. So hopefully we do, and that could be good for him. But we'll just have to see, because I mean 30 isn't really mega promising. We want to see something first.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. We have to talk about it. I don't want to, but Kalyn Ponga got 14 lovely points because he hurt his foot and he's still got a hip pointer injury. It's just not nice to watch him limp around in the field. He didn't need to be there. I said during the game they should just play with 12 and be done with it, because he doesn't need to. I think, look, nothing's going to happen, but I really do wonder why the Newcastle coaching staff are keeping him out there, because like it's just not a good look for everybody, and everybody knows that he's injured and just isn't really helping their team. So Supercoach wise, it depends what it is, but surely with the fact that 2 weeks in a row now he's looked incredibly ginger, and this week even when needled up, that he's going to be playing through that pain, as Neurophysio said, for a little while, 3 or 4 weeks, I think it takes to settle down. And if you've got that foot injury hanging around as well, I think you just get rid of him. I think it's sell time. Is there any reason why you would look to keep Ponga, or is it just time to look for somebody else?
Yeah, there's definitely a reason as to why you would keep him. It's because you have everything else in your team that you have to deal with. There's so many other trades that I have to make. I'm borderline considering just saying, let's just leave the team as is and see how it rides, because the decisions I'm making are not good. Be sure to follow us in the Supercoach Hub, because I'm going to be posting what my trade plans are for next week, who I'm choosing at captaining. I'll give you a hot tip as well. Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you a hot tip. This week, I decided, you know what? I'm going to bring in Tamari Martin. I'm going to vice captain him. And then I was tossing up between a captain of Garrick or Ponga. And when Garrick came out and scored the 38, I went, oh, wow, dodged a bullet with that one. And here we are on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm crying into my laptop. But yeah, no, look, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I think with Ponga, you can definitely hold him. You saw him with that hip pointer. He came out and scored a 91. This week, they just got shut down by a team that had so much momentum. I wanted to play him and wanted to keep him, because if he was named, you'd assume that he's getting back to sort of full health and full mobility. You wouldn't risk your top gun player when they've got that already. So it's going to be interesting to see if he is named or if they give him a rest, which I think is deserved. But yeah, there's options for it. Like one of the comments was you could potentially move to Chance. I like that as an option as well, especially with the Warriors run. But it's a tricky one. It just depends on what your team structure is like.
Yeah, definitely. Any other comments on this game, or shall we move to the Sharkies demolition job?
Yeah, let's go the Sharks.
All right. Let's go the Sharks. Nicho Hynes has been updated to 142 now, which makes me even slightly sadder. But he was back. Like, we were a tiny bit worried with Trindle doing a lot of things, but he just did everything. He was involved. He put people over. Sharks looked like a finals world-beating team today. They put it all together, and like we've generally been accustomed to Sharks being bottom 8 beaters and then they fade out in the finals. But if they can put that on the park, they will be a very good team this year. We just need to see that happen against the top teams. So, Joey, what is your opinion of the Sharks team moving forward? They've got a lot of their forwards back. There's a couple more to return. What do you see for this team moving forwards?
Well, they're doing all right, aren't they? I mean, top of the table, 2 weeks in a row now. I'm critical of the Sharks most years just because I see them a bit as a flat track bully. They can't often beat top 8 teams, but this was a really good performance today. Really good performance. I think Ronaldo Mulitalo is becoming the best winger in the comp, and I think he's not being talked about enough. I think he is becoming really, really good. The amount of tries he's scoring and what he's doing, he's up there for me with To'o. I mean, different play styles, but he's definitely up there with one of the best wingers in the comp for me. Nico, as you said, from a Supercoach point of view, coming into his own. But the biggest worrying sign is the Cowboys, lads. I think, if I was Todd Payton, I would be very, very worried.
Yeah, well, I think the most telling thing was when Mulitalo did go over that second one in the corner, nobody chased. He ran all the way back around and then dived under the posts. Yeah. That, like, you can't do that. You just can't do that in a game of NRL. That was pretty diabolical that they'd just all given up and nobody was going back to protect that or to cut his angle off. I think they really need to have a look at themselves this week and assess what they're going to do moving forward, because what they were doing this week and the last week or two when they played some good teams isn't working at all. They can play, score as many points as they like, but if they're going to do that in defense as well, they're not going to win finals matches.
Yeah, definitely not.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. On the Supercoach side of things, Mulitalo did bag a 94. So for owners, the tries rolling in is really good for that. Kennedy had another good score. Tommy Hazelton, you can't help but love the bloke. And I was wondering whether he would go over it today through these Cowboys middles who have let it through a few, and he sure delivered. Trindle with an okay score. Iro is going to be a weapon. Iro is a base plus power monster. We knew it was coming, but 53 with really without doing anything. I'm really happy with that. Signs are great. Mr. Charity, what do we see Iro going forward?
I mean, you want to see him in the team. You want to see him playing. He looks good. Like, he's not setting the world on fire like he did in that, I think it was that first or second game. But I think the Sharks just look a better team with him. Talakai, was leading the comp last year and at the start of this year for try assist from a non-playmaking player. So he's just been really good in that position. But I just think moving forward, seeing Talakai playing off the bench or in the second row with Iro at the center is the play that I would do, but we just don't know what's going to happen moving forward, especially once more of the forwards come back into this team.
Yeah, I think it is going to be an interesting watch for Talakai, because he has played in the forwards before he moved to center, and now he's sort of moved back. And well, he came on for McInnes, I think, during this game. So if we see him turn into a ball-playing short version of Junior Paulo, it could be really, really interesting.
It's a no from me.
Yeah. All right. Who else on this Sharks team? There's probably Nikora coming back from suspension with a high break even. We've just got so many edges at the moment. He's probably not on our radar until he's coming back up in price. Sam Stone Street had a really good debut NRL-wise. Went over for a try. He made some really good defensive plays as well, and he was brave. I think that if there wasn't a Katoa there, he would be starting in this team. He looked really, really ready to play.
Yeah, big raps on this kid. I've heard a lot about him over the past couple of seasons, and yeah, I'd love to see him there week in, week out. But as you said, I mean, Katoa and Mulatalo, the progression that these two are doing is just incredible. But look, Stone Street is not far off being there, I don't think. And if he can't crack it at Cronulla, I could see him going to another team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sharks are turning into this outside backs factory because you've got your Iro who's finally made his way into the team. You've got your Atkinson, your Dykes, all these guys are just around the edges of this team and can't get in because there's these really good players in front of them. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Sharks go in the next few years because they do have this fantastic depth in the outside backs. But yeah. Any notes on the Sharks? Shall we move to the destruction of the Cowboys?
I want to give a shout out to the Sharks fans. 2 5-year-old kids came up to me and shouted "Cow boos." So that was a great experience for me. But yeah, let's move on to the Cowboys. I mean the Cowboys.
The Cowgirls.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Tommy Dearden top scored for the Cowboys in this one, 74. And then we had a lot of not good scores. We had lots of 50s and 40s. Cotter knocking out 55. Got to be reasonably satisfied with that. Drinkwater 57. Not fantastic, but like it's not the worst. Around Pappenhausen sort of level. Tommy Chester. I'm really looking forward to him getting dual, but that's not going to happen for a bit, is it? Like they've just had their first one. The next one's not until about around 13, 14, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he'll probably be out of the team by the time Jewel comes in.
Yeah. So touching on that topic, Mr. Charity, who do you think will come into the team? Do you think now that Laybutt's out for the year, who do you think's going to come in and fight him for that position? Will they have like a Vailea? Will they move Valemi there? What do you reckon their strategy is going to be?
Actually, I'm just trying to think now of who's there. I mean, there's maybe like a Derby or something they might bring in, if my memory serves me correct. They've got Murray. Wait, is Murray Talani injured out?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Okay. Had a hammy this week. Yeah.
Yeah, they're running a bit short on their outside backs. Look, after the way that Valame played today, I think there's a strong likelihood that he'll be dropped as well. So I think Chester is safe in this team for now, but we're going to see over the next few weeks maybe someone else come in. But yeah, the stocks are pretty low there. Yeah.
What about you, Joe? What do you see for some of these Cowboys outside backs? Will they change up some of their team, maybe forwards as well after these couple of performances?
Yeah, look, starting with the outside backs, I actually think Chester's safe. I think great job security there. With Laybutt out for the year, I think that's Chester's spot to lose at the moment. I'm really high on bringing him in too for Supercoach. I just want to see how the Cowboys play over the next few weeks before I make a decision. But when you talk about players that should be out of the team, the forwards, and is a player I've really liked, but it's just not hitting the heights at the moment. It's Fini Fiaki, who is playing in the second row. And I brought him into Supercoach and the other one as well, but just not hitting the heights we expected. You know, Hylam Lukey is such a good player. So is Jeremiah Nanai as well. And he's just not at that level. And I know he's only young, but I mean, Lukey's only young and Lukey's at that level. So it's a tough one, but I think maybe he needs to go and just work on his game a little bit more.
Yeah, he could be someone we see more of in the future. But when's Lukey supposed to be back? Is it about round 10-ish, 11-ish, or is he about to be back now?
10 or 11.
Yeah, I think it's 10 or 11. He was like 8-week injury. I think it was MCL.
Yeah.
I
Casualty reward reckons ankle round 9. So maybe we'll see him bench round 9 and
Yeah.
starting round 10 or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, a couple of low ones from Robson started off really hot this year, dropped to 45 this week. But I mean, that's Harry Grant's score. So like there's about even there, cancelled out. Chad Townsend showed us why it's not a fantastic reason to buy Chad Townsend, because he will give you a million try assists, but then he'll also do this. So Taumalolo, farewell Taumalolo as Supercoach option. We fondly remember the mid and late 2010s, but yeah, with his knees as they are, it's just not happening.
Yeah, it's not. Just touching on Chatty Townsend, mate. Not a big Supercoach guy, hey?
Jesus.
No, he's a big kick meter guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not appreciating this podcast where you pretty much said, "Oh, I really wasn't impressed with this player this week. If you jumped on him, that's not a good decision." And you've literally named half my team. So I'm really appreciating this, boys.
We actually looked beforehand.
It wouldn't have been hard to find my team. Just look for the lowest score this week and you would have found it. I'm out here posting my score in like Facebook groups just so that other people can feel good about their teams.
I feel very good.
I got updated to 754, by the way, guys. So happy days.
750. Let's go. Yeah.
Sad times.
Yeah, I think we're running out of podcast. We had some injuries. How did you actually end up this week, Joey? What did you score?
Look, I'll make Mr. Charity feel a little bit better. I didn't crack the 1,000. I was in the 900s. Let me just quickly double check my score here. 966. So I wasn't too upset with that. Did win a few of my head-to-heads and then lost our one, of course, a couple of the Supercoach Hub ones. But that's okay. I was still happy with 966. I'm really happy with my team as a whole. Like, it's pretty well-rounded, so I don't really know where the fault was. Maybe I looked at Mr. Charity's team or something, but there was a fault there, so...
We just know that it'll turn around next week. One of us will score 1,400 and the others will score about 800 or 900 as well.
That's what I said last week after I scored 900.
Next week will be the week that you can't...
I said next week will turn around.
Next week will be the one. Next week.
You got it.
Rabbitohs come back. Rabbitohs change everything. All right. We'll finish off this podcast with a little bit of strategy. So we've got some really important buys coming up now. We've got the Raiders, the Bulldogs, and the Eels buys in this next month. So out of these relevant guys from these teams, we've got like Sam Hughes, we've got like Salmon, we've got all the... Who are the guys that we're looking to hold through those buys, and which ones are sort of the ones that have to go? Like, I'm probably leaning more towards Salmon's a good sell at that time, and maybe even Ethan Strange, pending where he sits and how the Raiders go. But it's guys like Schiller as well. Like Schiller probably is going to be out well before then. What are some of the plans you guys have got for those teams? And which targets are you bringing in moving towards the Origin period? I'll start with you, Joey.
Yeah, so I'm looking to obviously jump off a lot of my cash cows over the next few weeks. They've done their job. As you said, Schiller is a big one. Denny Levi, I love the GOAT, but it's time to jump off these Raider boys. Ethan Strange has been good. I think Ethan Strange could be a hold only because he's probably guaranteed that spot for a couple more weeks with Fogarty out. So I wouldn't mind holding Strange. But when we get into the likes of the Bulldogs, of course, we've got your Sam Hughes, your Jamin Salmons. I think you're right in what you said about Salmon. I would be jumping off Salmon very shortly. Obviously, ride him into the buy and then maybe look elsewhere. But your likes of Josh Curran, I'd probably hold Joshy Curran. If he locks down that 13 spot, he's definitely a hold for me. I'd like to see him take that. Of course, Kurt Mann is out at the moment, so he will take minutes off him when he's back. When we talk about Parramatta, if Dylan Brown doesn't get his act together, I'm probably going to have to sell him as well. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm heading. Trade-wise, I'm looking at those players. I mean, I've already got Tedesco, but if I didn't have Tedesco, I'd be looking at those sort of Origin players coming off Origin and then seeing their prices drop and jumping on because you know what sort of guns they can be.
Yeah, definitely. Who are you looking to bring in, Mr. Charity, from some of these guys on the buys?
What I'm going to do with the strategy now moving forward for my team is just look at who everyone else is selling and just bring them into my team. We'll see how everything goes, right? Because following who everyone else is bringing in, even though everyone else is bringing them in, I'm still not getting the results. So it's about time that I just really mix up the strategy. I'm already, I'm kind of similar to the Titans where it's like the season's kind of gone already. Let's just play around with things. We've sacked the head coach where the assistant coach has come in and gone, let's just blood some newbies. That's my approach moving forward. But in all fairness, I do actually think I'm going to start following who are some guns that everyone's jumping off so that I can maybe look to jump on them now that they're a lower price. I think it's now past the point where I go, okay, we've got the cash gen side of things. I now need to bring in this player because they're hot, this player because they're hot. I'm now just going to go, who's starting to go cold because we're just seeing constant fluctuations in scores, and hopefully I can just capitalize on that.
He'll have Montoya as captain next week.
What you're saying is that it's time to buy Will Kennedy for Kalen Ponga, I'm hearing.
No, because he went hot, right? So now if I didn't have Ponga, I'd bring Ponga in next week because everyone's jumped off him, right? So, I've just got to play that kind of like Garrick. If I hadn't already brought him into my team, he would be someone that I would bring in because everyone else is selling him, like that kind of play.
Yeah. Cooler.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah. The double super antipod strategy. Well, it honestly has been a very strange super coach year. Like the amount of relevant injuries and suspensions has been absolutely killer. The few that have managed to navigate their way through are in a brilliant position. I know there's a couple. We've had Rugby League Realm on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I think he's about 30th now, doing fantastic.
Wow.
But yeah, if you've managed to navigate through this, fantastic. If you haven't, it's at the time where you have to either commit and grind or relax and free it up a bit. So we'll see how it ends up going. Just give us more trades. Give us more trades, Supercoach, please. Just Tom Sangster, can you just add 10 more? Nobody will notice that the other digits wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. I'm looking forward to next week when I come to the podcast with my Jake Granville captaining to let you know how everything goes. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Can't wait to see Phoenix Croswell as your halfback.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on the podcast. That'll probably do us for this week. Anything you want to plug before we finish off, Joey? I know you're on the Ruck Infringement podcast. Anything about them?
Yeah, Ruck Infringement podcast. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, and all the usuals. Check out our social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. LinkedIn if you want to get onto LinkedIn. We're on all of it. But yeah, just check us out. Our next episode is dropping Wednesday night. I am going to the Anzac Day match on Thursday, Dragons Roosters. So my producer has told me we got to record earlier this week so we can drop it Wednesday night. So we're ready by Anzac Day. But yeah, that's us.
Good stuff. As always, Mr. Charity Night with the Supercoach Hub. Jump into the Discord if you haven't already for live Supercoach discussion with some really experienced guys. Jump in. Make sure you jump into the team reviews on the Thursday nights too with Mr. Charity. And watch out for some of the interesting news and suspensions and team lists coming out each week on the Wednesday pod with Munster Mash. So we will find out the results of Hetherington versus Reed Marnie in that one, and plenty more to come. So thank you for joining me, guys, this week, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks
for
boys.
having me.